Northern Nigeria has been battered by conflict in a long-standing security crisis.
We're ready to work with others in fighting terrorism, in fighting insecurity in Nigeria.
On Christmas night around the world, when families were praying, eating and celebrating peace, missiles were falling from the sky in northern Nigeria, not in war zones, not in a territory known for Islamic insurgency, but in Sokoto, a quiet, deeply religious region, calm and almost Muslims. No warning, no casualty, just fire, fear, metals and questions. The man who ordered the strike was Donald Trump, the justification defending Christians. But there is a problem. Sokoto is not a Nigeria terrorist hotspot. It's the spiritual arms of Christians in the country. So today we ask the uncomfortable question: why did the United States really bomb Sokoto and why was it really being defended? Before continuing, I'll invite you to scan the QR code or click the link in the description to have more stories of this same like. Let's start with facts. On December 25th, American missile hit at least 3 locations near the village of Jabu in Sokoto State, close to the neighbor borders. Donald Trump described the operation as a powerful and deadly attack against the terrorist scum. Yet, on the ground, villagers told a very different story. The missile landed in empty field, no bodies, no captured fighters, only metal scattered across farmlands. One local resident simply said, "Glory to God, nobody died." The Nigerian army later confirmed that it worked hand in hand with the United States based on what is called credible intelligence. President Tinubu approved the operation. So officially, this was a joint counter-terrorism strike. But unofficially, even officials, military are still searching how targets were chosen and why Sokoto.
The United States carried out an airstrike against Islamic State militants in northwest Nigeria at the request of Nigeria's government. U.S. President Donald Trump and the U.S. military said on Thursday, claiming the group had been targeting Christians in the region.
Here is where things get strange. Nigeria has suffered from terrorism for decades now, but the epicenter had always been northern Nigeria, that is Borno State, Boko Haram territory, Maiduguri.
The Muslims pray in their mosques, the Christians in churches, and they live peacefully together here in Yola. That's how it's been for years.
They come from villages north of Yola, where the army is fighting Boko Haram. For years, the group has been terrorizing people in this region. More than 5,000 people have been killed this year alone. Ginta Musa fled her village just a few days ago.
But Sokoto is different. Almost 100% Muslims, rare Christian population, known more for banditry, smuggling than ideological terrorism, come for nearly 2 years before the strike. Even Nigerian security says the area hosts criminal gangs, not organized religious extremists. So if the mission was really about protecting Christians, why bomb the least relevant region? This is why many Nigerian Christians, Muslims are alike very angry, confused and deeply uneasy. Because Sokoto is not just a state, it is symbolic. It is the historical sphere of Sokoto Caliphate, the spiritual heart of Islam in Nigeria, and bombing it is a manner of sending a message, whether intentional or not.
To the Muslim community in Nigeria, recent events have left an attempt to undermine the influence and authority of our revered Sultan of Sokoto and President General of Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Alhaji Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, with some even suggesting a plot by the government of Sokoto State to depose him.
Donald Trump has long framed Nigeria to one specific lens: Christians under attack, and it is true, there are religious tensions. There are attacks on churches, there are victims, but experts are clear on one point. Nigeria is not a religious genocide scenario. Violence in Nigeria is complex. Banditry, kidnapping, farmers-header conflict, criminal network, Islamist extremists, state weaknesses.
Insecurity in Nigeria is driven by religious targeting, insisting that the violence affects people of all faiths and should not be described as a religious war. The senior special assistant to the president on chieftaincy matters, Abba Tijani Hashim, made this known during a meeting with the Methodist Archbishop of Anambra, Most Reverend Vincent Ono. The engagement is part of ongoing engagements between the federal government and religious leaders aimed at promoting peace and national unity. Hashim warned that portraying Nigeria's security challenges as a genocide or faith-based violence could deepen divisions and weaken national cohesion.
In 2024, almost 9,500 people were killed, Muslims and Christians. As one Nigerian analyst said, there are persecutions, yes, but there is no genocide of Christians in Nigeria. So when Trump framed the conflict as Christian versus Muslim, he made the thing very difficult and dangerous. And when he bombed a Muslim-majority region in the name of protecting Christians, the thing exploded and became more powerful. So that is one reason that generated the conflict.
They accepted their ideology, they accepted the belief of establishing a theocratic Islamic state, and all the people who joined him, even though Muhammad Yusuf was attending to their needs, he was providing some social services to them, the core reason why most of them joined is the ideology.
So if religion isn't the full explanation, then what is it? Here are 4 deeper reasons many analysts point into. The Sahel containment strategy. Sokoto border Nigeria, and Nigeria is part of unstable Sahel belt. The US is worried about foreign fighters moving south from Mali, Niger, from Burkina Faso. The strike may have been less about Sokoto itself and more about sending a signal. Intelligence-driven, not grounded, verified. American strike often rely on satellite imagery, signal intelligence, regional pattern reports, but without boots on the ground. Intelligence can be imperfect. What looks like a terrorist scum from the sky can be an empty land on the ground. This may explain why missiles hit and nothing happened. Political messages to Trump base. Trump foreign policy often blends strategy with symbolism. By striking Nigeria and invoking Christianity, he reinforces his image as a defender of Christians. He appealed to evangelic voters, showed strength abroad without deploying troops. Christians' Day was not accidental, it was an amplified message. Pressure on Abuja. Finally, this strike sent a quiet warning to Nigeria's government. If you don't act decisively, we will. Even though Abuja officially approved the mission, some Nigerian officials now admit they were not fully informed. That raised a troubling question: who is really in control? When you decide to bomb a symbolic Islamic region in the name of protecting Christians with no evidence, you may risk many things. Fuel resentment, radicalizing local population, strengthening extremist narrative, deepening religious mistrust. Instead of reducing violence, you may be planting the seed of future conflict, and Nigeria knows this. This is why reactions across the country have been cautious, not celebratory. So, why did Trump decide to bomb Sokoto? Not because Sokoto was a deathless place, not because Christians were being massacred there, but because Sokoto sits at the crossroad between politics, strategy, and perception. This was a strike meant to remain decisive, even though the logic behind it remained questionable. And in a country where violence affects everyone, and simplifying the conflict to be a religious one may bring more harm than good. So now I ask you, was it all about security or symbolism? Was it about protecting lives or protecting power? And most importantly, who really pays the price when global politics hit the local soil? If you found this episode insightful, share, debate, and questions, because understanding why Sokoto was bombed is understanding the future of the security in Africa and why did it intervene. This is not just a story of Nigeria, it is a global one. So don't forget to subscribe to have more stories.